for TRICHOMES.com. I'm Jarod Duggins, and this is the Careers in Cannabis podcast. On this show, we sit down with staffing agencies, cannabis companies, and other industry professionals to discuss employment opportunities in the burgeoning cannabis industry. Whether you're voting red or blue, cannabis will be here tomorrow. Whether you live in a state that has passed medical laws, recreational laws, or hasn't passed any governing laws regarding cannabis at all, cannabis will be here tomorrow. So as a voter, if you haven't already, look into how you can vote locally to have a hand in how it's available in your town, county, or state, because cannabis will be here tomorrow. As the industry emerges, hurdles arise and solutions are found. SOPs are put into place for structure, but it also identifies strengths, weaknesses, and areas of which individuals and the teams they're part of can become more efficient. Today, by and large, technology leads the way in creating new opportunities, efficiencies, and structure. Our next guest comes from big tech, creating enterprise solutions for corporate America, where the money may have been good, but the connection wasn't there. Being happy and making good money sounds like an impossible mission. Yet our next guest, Mr. Bond, Jon Bond, Director of Strategic Partnerships at Dutchie, a technology company in the cannabis space, is here to tell us how he did it. Jon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us, Jarod.
Hey, it's a pleasure. And Dutchie's been all over the news recently. You guys are making waves in the technology space within the cannabis category. And thanks for taking the time. So, this pandemic, this global thing keeps going on, and we keep trying to grab a hold of a crystal ball. When's it going to end? What's going to happen? But right now we're still amidst it. We're amidst the part of the uncertainty. How are you doing? Where are you at right now?
Personally and professionally, I would say I'm doing really well. I'm actually up in Bend, Oregon, where we're headquartered. So Dutchie's corporate office is here, and my family's back in Kansas City. They're all safe and happy. And my Dutchie family is kind of all over the place. We've got a fair amount here as well as remote, but everyone's hanging in there and doing pretty well. So we're very fortunate to have, our health and our well-being on that side of it.
Oh, that's really great to hear. That's really great to hear. Now into, the season it is. And every 4 years we have this season. It is election season. It's voting season. And, being of the apolitical nature myself, I don't want to get into the politics behind it or anything like that. But we are cannabis. We're talking about careers in cannabis. Leading up to this point, just this past year, we've been deemed essential as far as an industry, and we've been really catching fire as far as momentum goes. What do you see, regardless of who's elected, what do you see for cannabis on the other side of elections come, January 2021?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even outside of, like you said, in an apolitical fashion, I think the cannabis industry in itself has been set on a trajectory that's really, unable to be undone at this point. The business case has been made that, from both a medicinal standpoint and from an economic standpoint, that it can bring a ton of value. And I think a time that realistically we need as much of that as possible. And so when you think about, the opportunity to generate tax revenue for states and help kind of bail us out of this hole that we've been in with, shelter in place and as tough as it's been, employment wise for a lot of people, I think cannabis could be a big part of that. And then on the social aspect, if you think about all the fires that we have burning today, I think it's one that, you look at and say, is it really that big of a deal that we're really stifling something that has shown so much promise and provided so many different opportunities and, a betterment of people's lives from a medical standpoint.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. I hope it continues with the pace it's been on. It's been something that is long overdue in my personal opinion and professional opinion. So I do look forward to the industry keeping the pace it's been at, regardless of any regulatories or anything coming in. It's, the Fed's got to catch up with it. We're still on a state by state basis. So there's a lot to figure out. But when it boils down to it is the pace we're on as discovery goes, each new state is more momentum towards a new tomorrow when it comes to cannabis. So I agree with you. I really do hope that it keeps up the pace that it's been at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't really see a way that it wouldn't. I mean, realistically, regardless of, who wins the election, it's kind of one of those things that, the business case has been spelled out, and now there's over 30 states with at least a medical program and 11 recreational states. And so it's almost like once a few people decided to jump in, it's like it's hard to deny the impact that it can make. Again, as much as I would love for it to be from a feel good and this is the right thing to do because regardless of how you feel about big pharma and everything like that, being able to bring people something that's a better alternative. The tax revenue speaks louder than anything. And so, the ability to help, kind of bail us out of the spot where I think is going to speak louder than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the chronic coffers filling the city coffers, coffers filling coffers.
And there is a difference.
Yeah. So, hey, I know we spoke prior to this, and within our pre-conversation, we went into your past experience and how you got in the cannabis industry. Would you share with our listeners a little bit about your past employment and where you broke into cannabis?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was a 4-year scholarship athlete in college. I played baseball at a school in the Midwest. I grew up in Kansas City, and, I've always been a fan of the plant, from a social aspect, right? This is before you really could look at it from, a medicinal or an economic impact standpoint. And, I got out of school and I got into what I would call big business, corporate America, and found some success early on in software. And so I ended up working for a large enterprise SaaS company till I was about 27, climbing the ladder about as high as you can and realizing that, as successful as you can make yourself and, money is not really the most important thing. Now, granted, it helps afford certain things, but in terms of a lifestyle and something that you feel like you can be passionate about and get behind, there was a huge draw for me to the cannabis space, especially when I looked at, the opportunity ahead of us. When you think about things that are happening from a business perspective, if I was going to hinge my career on two things, it was the idea that people are buying more legal cannabis tomorrow than they were today, and people are buying more things online tomorrow than they are today. And so in 2016, I was living in Las Vegas. I had moved there to kind of get ahead of the recreational cannabis space. When you look at it as a Midwest kid, Missouri was anywhere near a cannabis program at that time. It was right around 2015. And so when I looked at the opportunities out there and being someone that felt like I had a lot of value to bring from a business acumen and building something great from the ground up based on prior experience, I looked at the states that were coming online for medical use in that time frame, and Nevada just kind of happened to be one of those ones. Whereas if I were to move to Oregon, California, Colorado, at that time where rec had already happened, you're kind of chasing the caboose of the train. Whereas if you move to a medical market, you have an opportunity to kind of lay the tracks. And so moved to Vegas in 2015. We started a cultivation with some funding out of Toronto. I had a partner out there that we built to what it was right as rec was coming live. We had a ton of success with it. It was a great opportunity. Ended up, moving on from that after building it and doing some consulting work when I met our co-founders, Ross and Zach, who are, two of the most impressive professionals that I've probably ever met in my entire life. And, after understanding and learning kind of the pain points of the cannabis space and realizing that, it's not just all good times and reggae music and hanging out and the things that we all love, right? There's a lot of really unique problems that need to be solved if you want to operate an efficient retail business. And there's things that you have to consider that you wouldn't have to in other spaces. And so, looking at all that from a macro, I realized that somebody that could come in and kind of organize the chaos that we know and love was going to, have the best opportunity to make the biggest impact. And so came on to Dutchie in the super early days, right after our seed round of funding, and have been on the rocket ship with the Dutchie fam ever since.
That's awesome. And quite a rocket ship. I was just reading through some, I guess you would call it old news from last year. And there was an article highlighting how you had just broken through to about 450 stores and about I don't want to quote it wrong, but I think it was 174 million in total processed goods. And as I know, you guys have broken well above that now. You want to tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's crazy to think about because it almost seems like, and there's so many ways it seems like it was so long ago, but it also seems like it was just yesterday at the same time. And currently, as it stands today, we're working with over 1,500 dispensaries across 30 states and Canada, and we're annualized at over $2.5 billion in sales through our platform, assuming that nobody buys less legal cannabis tomorrow than they did today, which is always a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, you can bet on that from this guy over here. I think I'm buying the same amount, if not more. But yeah, so wow, that's quite a bit of growth, especially over this last year here. And well, congratulations, kudos to you and the Dutchie team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of really talented, really motivated people working together. I mean, I say this all the time, and I might be a broken record, but I think it's important to say there are very few things more powerful than a group of people that are committed to the same goal and are selflessly moving towards it at an aggressive pace. And I think there's been, dynasties, built and overthrown with that type of logic, right? And so, we're really fortunate in the idea that we just have a group of, now 120 plus deep of people that are just insanely committed to the same thing of making the most of the opportunity that we have in front of us.
Wow, very well said. And to that note, and growing like wildfire here is expansions. What do you see directly as far as career opportunities or careers at Dutchie? Are there any expansions going on, internal opportunities at Dutchie for the listeners to maybe sharpen their pencils and update their resumes for?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, the expansion and the growth is happening at a blinding pace. And, it's very fortunate that, we've got an executive leadership team as well as the leadership, it's a top down thing in terms of how we structure, the way that we go about things. And we're growing so fast. I mean, we're sitting, like I said, at about 120 employees today. We'll probably double that in the next year. I think our ability to fundraise and really create an opportunity for us to prioritize growing at the pace that we need to versus what makes sense from hey, can we afford to hire these extra 6 employees this week? And so there's really, it's a calling all rock stars at this point. We're kind of in a spot where this pandemic, without saying it, in a different way, there's a lot of very talented people looking for opportunities that may have lost that opportunity because of, what's happened with the economy in the last, 6 to 8 months. And so, realistically, we're growing and firing on all cylinders, and there's new departments and new roles and opportunities that are evolving every single day within what we're doing. And so, when you talk about is somebody, should they be sharpening their pencil on their resume? It's one of those things where you can look at it from the outside and say, hey, that seems like a really great company to be a part of. And I can tell you right now that, after spending time working for an enterprise SaaS company that was focused on employee engagement, we have the best culture of any company that I've ever been around, even one that was actually selling a product that was directly correlated with employee engagement to like the Southwest Airlines, American Airlines of the world, right? But it's one of those things where every single day is, it presents a new set of challenges and opportunities, right? And so, some of the most talented people that I've ever seen are not necessarily like the best at what they do all the time, 100% of the time. It's the people that can find ways to get through adversity and still come out successful and have, a rough day or two and show back up on that third day with, the positive mentality that we're going to get over the mountain together as a team. And so, if that's something that seems like fits into the wheelhouse of what you want to be a part of, absolutely, because that's exactly what we've been able to, and really better than most that I've ever seen, keep that culture of, team over individual, which is actually one of our operating principles, at the forefront of everything as we're building and growing as fast as we are.
Wow. That's really exciting. And again, I wish the best for both you and Dutchie in the future. Where can our listeners find out more about this? I do believe Dutchie.com is your website, but where do you have all the job listings and postings?
A couple different places. So you can always find those on our careers page on Dutchie.com. And I would encourage everybody to go check us out. I mean, at this point, like I said, we work with dispensaries in 30 states plus Canada. So it'd be great to kind of get a feel of who we are, what we do. I think we also do a really good job of kind of, displaying what our company culture is in terms of like, how we approach things. And, I think one of the pillars of that is transparency and kind of how we approach day to day. And then, obviously additionally LinkedIn with postings and stuff like that. And I can tell you right now, we're posting new opportunities every single week. And if it's something that you feel like that inspires you, that you would want to be a part of, we're getting about 850 resumes a week at this point in time, which is crazy to think that means we're going to probably see close to 50,000 resumes in the next, year if that keeps up, right? And so if you end up sending an application to us and we don't get back to you, stay on top of it, because at the end of the day, like, we're trying to grow and we know our people are everything. And so, we call it the Dutchie fam for a reason. It's a really special thing to be a part of that. And we're always looking to continue to expand that culture, as we continue to scale and grow.
Persistence helps set people apart, and as the old adage goes, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So
I think one of my favorite sayings of all time is, success happens when hours in days, weeks, months, years of preparation meet a couple single moments of opportunity. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at right now in terms of what the industry has got laid out in front of us, with all of the changes that have happened, from like a retail perspective, and the importance being placed on tech platforms, and realistically just rock stars that are willing to get out there and continue to move the needle.
Oh, wow. Again, very eloquently put, Mr. Bond. And hey, thank you so much for your time again. And I look forward to speaking with you to give our listeners some updates, but you'll be able to find all the URLs and handles in the bios, whatever platform you're listening on. And Jon, thank you again for your time.
Yeah, absolutely, Jarod. I appreciate you having us. Look forward to connecting again soon.
You can follow our series, Careers in Cannabis, as well as more great shows like this one at TRICHOMES.com. If you're a member of the cannabis community and you have a story you want to share with us, please reach out. You can reach the show via emailing careersincannabis@trichomes.com. Please take a second to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. It really helps others find the show. You can also join in the discussion with industry insiders by visiting trichomes.com and following us on all social media. For trichomes.com, I'm Jarod Duggins. Be well, and thank you for listening.